Hey there guys, Portal Master here, and in today's video, I am going to be showing a picture of me in the exact same outfit right here. Hey there guys, Portal Master here, and in today's video, I am going to be doing a thing that I feel like should have been done a while ago. I am going to be recapping all of the Skylanders news and happenings that have occurred since the release of the Lost Imaginite Mines, which occurred back in 2017, around March. I think it started trickling out back in March, and it started hitting the shelves, full-fledged later on in the year, like in May or June. So quite a few things have actually happened since then, not just related to Skylanders, but also related to a few other sister franchises that I also want to talk a little bit about, and I'll be recapping as well. So in total, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Skylanders, Lightseekers, Starlink, LEGO Dimensions, Spyro, and Crash. However, the focus is still Skylanders centric, and I'll be explaining why every single one of these things does somehow tie back into Skylanders. Now, for almost every event that I'm going to be talking about in this video, I have made a video on it at some point, which is why I have thumbnails that will be showing up on the TV behind me throughout the entire duration of this. This is, of course, the most recent one, which is the leaks and the rumors that have occurred about a Skylanders game being under development. So I have a recap video planned for that whole thing as well, but I wanted to go ahead and recap everything that took place before this. So let's dive in. Let's start again with the 2017 release of Lost Imaginite Mines. Now, this is the last Skylanders figure to ever hit the shelves as of right now. The Lost Imaginite Mines was essentially just Robo, a creation crystal, and a blue treasure chest. And it was an utter disaster and warranted this rant video with this legendary thumbnail that you really can't tell what it is, but it's me in a suit jacket with a cowboy hat on ranting about why the release patterns of so many Skylander figures were awful. I think that nothing can summarize how awful the release patterns of Skylanders towards the end really were, more so than the Lost Imaginite Mines release, which was utterly botched in almost every single way, and now Robo is incredibly rare, and it costs $80 just to get Robo, and you're lucky if you can get the Lost Imaginite Mines Adventure Pack for under $100. And so that really just summarized everything, but isn't really the focus of what we're talking about today. So let's talk about the next thing, which was the Krakatoa leaks. Krakatoa was leaked sometime in May of 2017, along with Lightcore Barbella and another Skylander named Void. There may have been another one that we got a name of, but never actually saw a picture of. Krakatoa was a very, very convincing fake, but ultimately was some type of photoshopped Imaginator with assets probably reused from the burn cycle. Honestly, we're still not sure how someone made Krakatoa, but it was inevitably a fake, which was proven in June 2017 when CoinOp TV went to, E3, and then messaged me that it was fake. So this is the video that I made we found out it was fake. I asked him on Instagram. I remember that fateful day, and Skylanders Year 2 was proven to be fake. So we then knew that no Skylanders game was coming in 2017. We were almost certain nothing would be. There was a little bit of hype around Gamescom of 2017 when people thought, hey, maybe something could be in the works, but ultimately no Skylanders game, no Skylanders content at large was ever produced in 2017 outside of Academy Season 2. So, at E3, there was some good news, and it was the announcement of Starlink Battle for Atlas, which was a Toys-to-Life game that would be coming out in October of 2018. And it was actually fall of 2018, but we didn't know it was October eventually. We just didn't know that at the time. It is the last Toys-to-Life game that has currently been announced. As of right now, it holds the title for the last Toys-to-Life game. So it was announced, nothing was really known about it other than, hey, there's these vehicles, they have attachable weapons, there are pilots, and yes, that's basically it. Following that, the long-awaited launch of Lightseekers was finally happened in America, where we had the release of the 2 starter packs, the Tyrax and the Mari starter pack, as well as an assortment of weapons and flight packs, etc., etc., etc. Lightseekers would prove to be a complete and utter failure, although at this point we still didn't know it. The Kickstarter had been fairly successful. There was at least a little bit of buzz about it, but ultimately, pretty much what you saw on day one is what was there in Toys R Us when Toys R Us happened to go under, which we'll get to later on. So this is the second to last Toys to Life game that was ever released, and that's when it released, was in June or July of 2017. Following that, we had the last Skylanders promo. Actually, that's not true. I forget there were Burger King and IHOP promos that actually occurred after this, but those are not as important because I didn't think they were as cool. We had the Skylanders Fro-Yo promo, yo, which I love to open that video up with. I'm pretty sure that's what I opened that video with. If that's not, then I say it at some point in that video. It was at Minchie's Frozen Yogurt. It's the only time I've ever been to a Minchie's Fro-Yo place, and it was to get Chaos Spoons, which... yes, essentially this is the last promo to really happen. And as you can see, it was actually for Skylanders Imaginators, as you can see right there, not Academy. So it is the last game-related Skylanders promo for sure. Following that, we had Skylanders Academy Season 2 in October of 2017. October of 2017 was quite busy. We had Skylanders Academy Season 2, which was already confirmed to be renewed for Season 3 at this point. So this was pretty uneventful. There were a few minor promos that went along with it, but nothing much. Also, LEGO Dimensions was announced to be canceled that year as well in October of 2017. It was canceled because it was actually selling so incredibly well that essentially it was cutting into the profits of other LEGO games, and that is why it was canceled. LEGO Dimensions was actually doing really well. It did too well, in fact. Also, in October of 2017, we had the second and final wave of Lightseekers toys released, which saw Boulder and Xyrus being released, which were like their fire and their death. I forget actually what their official elemental names were, but that is who they were. They released alongside some other figures, like a few weapons and a few flight packs, but ultimately, again, complete and utter failure. I think even fewer of these sold than the original 2 starter packs. So, then we pretty much go silent until January of 2018 when rumors started circulating, and when I say rumors started circulating, I mean I started circulating rumors that the Skylanders mobile game was canceled. This was not completely unfounded. At this point, it had been over a year since we had heard anything about the Skylanders mobile game, and it was not mentioned at all in the Activision earnings call. As a matter of fact, we didn't actually find out that it was not canceled until the Come To Us earnings call, which had actually occurred several days earlier, but had gone completely unnoticed because who in America watched the Come To Us earnings call unless they're an investor in Come To Us? So it turns out the mobile game wasn't canceled, but that doesn't change the fact that from 2017 to 2018, we heard absolutely nothing about this mobile game. Now, I told you guys I wouldn't go earlier than Lost Imaginite Mines, but essentially what Ring of Heroes eventually would be revealed to be was supposed to be released in the summer of 2018, or rather the first half of 2018. So at this point we're like, okay, obviously that's not happening. That would be in 4 months from now at the latest if it was still happening in the first half of 2018. So we're starting to see how behind schedule Ring of Heroes was, and we're not even anywhere near the release at this point. So that was February of 2018. In March of 2018, it was confirmed that the mobile game, of which this was the very first concept art we saw anything of for Ring of Heroes, would be coming in the summer of 2018. Again, complete and utter falsehoods, as we know it didn't come out until February of 2019. So it would be another 11 months at this point before Ring of Heroes would eventually be released. So that was in, once again, March of 2018. In March of 2018, it was also confirmed that Crash Bandicoot would be coming to other consoles, Nintendo Switch and Xbox One. So essentially, Activision was done with their exclusivity stuff with Sony, which opened up them to selling their games on other platforms, which really solidified Crash as one of the replacements for Skylanders, as it was going truly a becoming a truly multi-platform franchise. So there we have Crash Bandicoot as a multi-console game in March of 2018. Also, again, in March of 2018, we had the first images of Ring of Heroes, which at this point we still didn't know the name for, surface. We had 3 images which showcased a rudimentary battle system right here. It showcased Awakened Eruptor, and it also showed that we'd have a few bosses and we'd be able to fight villains and stuff, and yeah, that's basically what was revealed with these images right here. In April of 2018, the Spyro Reignited trilogy, or at the time we thought it was going to be called the Treasure Trilogy, but eventually it was revealed to be the Reignited trilogy, was announced in April of 2018. This really, once again, kind of solidified, okay, well, we might not be getting Skylanders stuff in 2018 for sure now, because we actually have a true replacement game for what's coming here. At this point, there were still rumors, theories, speculations, and hopes that Skylanders 7 would be a 2018 game, that they just took a year off to try to do a 2-year development cycle. The announcement of the Spyro remaster kind of killed all hopes of that. In June of 2018, Skylanders Ring of Heroes, the mobile game we'd been hearing about for over a year at this point, was finally revealed to be called Ring of Heroes. This is when we first learned the name, was June of 2018. Bear in mind, originally in 2017, when this game was first announced at an Activision earnings call, it was said that it would be coming in the first half of 2018, and already we're just finding out the name of the franchise literally after the first half of 2018. So that was pretty bad in terms of how delayed it was. In June of 2018, we also found out that Star Fox would be coming to Starlink, which is pretty much the only reason that Starlink sold at all. Starlink would have been completely dead out of the water if it wasn't for Star Fox. Nintendo Switch Starlink copies outsold the other two PlayStation 4 and Xbox One copies by a ridiculous amount, and essentially that just shows Star Fox is really who propped this game up, and that's honestly kind of insane. But anyway, that was announced at E3 and actually got a good bit of hype for it. In June of 2018, we also saw the first original content produced for Crash Bandicoot by Activision, and it was the Future Tense level, which was actually a big deal, which is why I made a video on it. Because again, as I said, it was the first original content that was produced for either the Crash or the Spyro franchises. At this point, you know, they had just been reusing old stuff. This was brand new. June is also when the Skylanders Ring of Heroes beta test started. This was for a long time one of my most viewed videos on the entire channel. Again, the beta came out in July or June. It was like basically July at this point. It was the end of June, I think, when this came out. It's insane how long it took. Also, this is the month where we had some pretty huge news. Not only was Toys R Us confirmed, or this is the last month when Toys R Us was operational, essentially, but also this is when Skylanders 7 was officially discovered to have been canceled, which was actually quite big news, because up until this point, we didn't know if they had never planned a game after Imaginators, or if they had originally planned to do a Skylanders 7, and then Imaginators sold so disappointingly that they decided to can it. This is what showed that this was a thing, and I actually have realized just off of reading comments that a lot of people must have never watched this video, which is probably one of the most important videos I made in the last 3 years, to be honest, because it actually shows Skylanders 7 wasn't just, you know, never done. It was straight up scrapped, which is a pretty big deal. In September of 2018, the very end of September, Skylanders Academy Season 3 was released, and it was the final season of Academy, although we didn't know it at that time. It was pretty bad compared to the previous seasons. It had a different showrunner than before, and overall, I kind of understand why they canned it. The showrunner moved on in the middle of the season. I really don't blame them for not trying to keep going after that. Following this, in the following month, we had the October 2018 release of Starlink Battle for Atlas. I did a full Let's Play on this when it came out. Starlink actually was a good game, but ultimately the figures did not sell. They did digital releases for all the figures as well, and the digital versions pretty much completely outsold the physical copies. And ultimately, as a Toys to Life game, it failed. As a game itself, it did not fail, I don't think, and I wouldn't say there's going to be a sequel to Starlink anytime soon, because I think that most of the people that ended up buying it were actually Star Fox fans, not people genuinely interested in a legitimate Starlink 2, but who knows, I could be wrong. Following the Starlink release, whoops, I just closed out of all of my pictures, so some spoilers are there. We had the Spyro release in November of 2018. This is the second remaster that Activision produced after the Crash Bandicoot remaster, and it was a pretty good remaster. Having never really played Spyro myself, but having played Crash Bandicoot, I already had faith that this would be good, and I wanted to be able to experience Spyro since I had experienced him through Skylanders for so long. In December of 2018, Crash Team Racing was revealed, which was the 2019 release for Activision and Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob. It was their 2019 kids title, which again, pretty much said no Skylanders once again because this is what we're doing instead. Pretty open and shut right there. And then of course when the financial earnings call rolled around, they pretty much said we don't have plans for Skylanders. They didn't actually say that, but by lack of saying anything about Skylanders, it was pretty obvious they didn't have anything for it. But at least we had a little bit of good news because in December of 2018, Skylanders Ring of Heroes released to the public for Canadians and Australians. So still not in America, and it's 2018, the end of 2018, still nothing for America. So that's great. I downloaded it using a thingy. I forget exactly how I did it, but I got it and streamed it and played it, and I thought it was kind of cool. So yeah, there's Ring of Heroes actually finally being released. Then there was I did it again, dang it. There was a holiday update that same month, December of 2018, for Starlink, which was a minor update when the game was actually still doing fairly well. It actually added a good little bit of content. I think it was pretty cool, despite the fact that several of the things in this update should have been in the original game. Let's be real here. So, we're done with 2018. We moved to 2019. We had a pretty big news drop here. If the first most important video that I made in the last 3 years is that Skylanders 7 was canceled, this is the second coolest video. Or at least the second most important, probably the coolest, honestly, video. Never before seen Skylanders 7 prototype characters. If you've not watched this video, go watch it right now because it is 3 characters that were planned for either Imaginators and then decided not to go that way, or a sequel to Imaginators, which is what it seems to be more implied via the code that's been found. 3 characters that should have been in Skylanders. And honestly, this is one of the coolest Skylanders I think has ever been even conceptually designed. It is probably cooler than Nightlight. It's a Red Riding Hood character with an axe riding on a skeletal, or not a skeletal wolf, but a wolf with like these giant skeletal fangs jumping out the side. This thing is so cool. I really wish this had been a thing. But anyway, this was revealed in January of 2018, but wasn't really picked up by a lot of people, including myself, until several months later. So in February of 2019, we had Skylanders Ring of Heroes finally released in America on February 27th of 2019, as it says in this thumbnail, which was 2 full years, actually more than 2 full years, after the original announcement of a Skylanders mobile game, and over half a year late, really closer to 3/4 of a year late. And it was pretty bad for a variety of reasons. Despite the fact that many updates would be pushed out post-launch, they never really fixed the core issues with the game. Oh well. In April of 2019, a digital Starlink Wave 2 was announced, which confirmed that no physical characters would be made for Starlink ever again. While they would be adding quite a few new pilots and new ships and new weapons, there would not be any new figures because the figures didn't sell well. And that's really unfortunate because the figures were actually kind of cool. The actual characters weren't, but the ships were really awesome. And sadly, no more physical Starlink. And that's when I stopped playing Starlink. Oh well. In May of 2019, Skylanders Academy Season 4 was officially confirmed to have been canceled. I forget exactly how this news came out, but the important fact is, no more Skylanders Academy. So 2019, officially, if you don't count Ring of Heroes, was the first year we had no new Skylanders content at all, because at least in 2017 and 18, we actually had Academy Season 2 and 3, but then in 2019, there would be no Season 4, and Ring of Heroes had technically already been released at this point in 2018. So 2019 is the first year that there was no Skylanders content, which was actually really, really, really sad. That was actually the last bit of news for quite some time, because this is May of 2019. In February of 2020, Ring of Heroes 2.0 was announced that they would be redoing Skylanders Ring of Heroes and re-releasing it hopefully towards the end of 2020, which if they've proven how late they're going to be on everything, this thing isn't happening for quite some time, for probably until the beginning of 2021. Let's be real here. So, that's essentially where we are, except then we have, in May of 2020, Skylanders leaks starting to surface. Apparently, the Skylanders leaker, as we know, had Skylanders leaked to them back in May of this year, but didn't say anything until June. When Crash 4 was announced in June, this leaker started to gain significantly more clout on the internet, despite the fact that they'd made previous past predictions correct, and all of a sudden, apparently Skylanders rumors are a thing again, and that is where I end this video. Because that warrants another 15-minute video, let's be honest. So you should be proud that I got through all of this in 15 minutes or so. How long did this end up running? This ended up running 21 minutes. Never mind, this went a lot longer than I thought it would be, but consider what we've just recapped. We've just recapped 3 years worth of news in 20 minutes, despite the fact that there's not as much news as you might would think. There's actually quite a few things that tied into Skylanders here. In this last 3 years, we've essentially witnessed the Toys to Life industry pretty much go out of business, essentially. Disney Infinity was already gone by 2017. We witnessed Dimensions go under. We witnessed Lightseekers go under. We witnessed Starlink go under. And we witnessed Skylanders Academy be canceled, and rumors about sequels to Skylanders be pretty much proven to be false, and we've seen that Skylanders 7 was canceled and everything. So essentially, other than Amiibo, during this entire time period is when you can see the candle of Toys to Life really being snuffed out. We also see Skylanders sort of clinging on a little bit and then sort of still fading away. And somehow Ring of Heroes is still involved in all this, so there's that too, apparently. So that's everything. That is everything that's happened in the last 3 years, just in case people aren't up to date. I figure a lot of you that have made it to the end of this video have probably kept up with this news. But if anybody did not keep up with this news and thought that this was an interesting way of putting time periods into perspective, I will leave a timeline of everything down in the description for you guys to look at. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a long video. I don't blame you if you skipped around until you got to this part. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you're still here at the end. That's all for now. This has been Portal Master. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.